Not long ago, I was talking to one of my friends and we were discussing what are the best hobbies in the world. We've covered cars, mountain biking, traveling, hiking, video games even, and we've quickly come to a conclusion that photography is in fact the best hobby in the world. And if you let me explain why, then by the end of this video, you'll be eager to pick up your camera and go out and shoot. Everyone needs a creative outlet. We are designed as humans to create and not just consume. Now, creating can be different for different people. It could be knitting, it could be making music, singing, and of course, it's photography. Having a solid creative outlet will do so much for your mental health, happiness, and overall life satisfaction. It's technical. Whilst creativity uses one part of your brain, photography can be technical and use the other side. Settings, focal lengths, cameras, lighting. There's so much technical aspects to this craft that you can make it as technical as possible and scratch that itch if that's how your brain works. Photography involves buying gadgets, and I'm yet to come across a person who can honestly tell me that they don't enjoy buying a new gadget. Now, of course, there'll be a small subset of film purists who will refuse to own anything that's not older than 20 years. However, even the most die-hard art-forward photographer will admit that now and again they enjoy having a new piece of gear to play with. Photography allows you to tick that box with regards to having something new, a gadget or a toy to play with. Photography can be very affordable. Now, of course, we both know that you can spend tens of thousands on camera gear, but if we're really honest with ourselves, we know deep down that we can do photography on a budget. You can buy a Fujifilm X-T2 from God knows how many years ago for not much money. You can buy a Sony a7 III, you can buy a bunch of cameras which came out 5-6 years ago that will still do a great job today and without spending that much money. If you literally don't have any money, you can use your phone that's in your pocket. I know there are some people who go, oh, phones are not cameras, ignore them. You have a camera on you pretty much all the time. So yes, whilst you can spend a lot of money, you can also do it on a budget, and the barrier to entry with photography is extremely low. Photography requires problem-solving skills. If you want to get a particular shot, you need to figure out where the light is, the composition. If you want to use external lights, you need to plan out how everything is going to work. If you want to shoot sunrise, you need to figure out where the sun will rise, where the light would hit. You have to check weather, you have to plan hikes or routes. Photography can be a very good problem-solving exercise, which is great for our brains and for having a bit of a purpose or something to work towards. Photography gets you out and about. If you were to tell someone that you're going to go on a 7-hour walk on your own without any clear purpose, after a few of those days out, people start asking questions. They'll ask you if you're okay. If you're out taking photos, you have a purpose, you have a reason, you have a why as to why you're out and about. And whether it's a 1-hour walk around the city at lunchtime or a 6-month backpacking trip across the world, we can't deny the fact that photography is, for most of us, the primary reason why we're out and about so much. Photography forces you to be present and observe. Now, I love travel, and I used to travel a lot before photography as well. However, I know that there's a very clear kind of cutoff between travel without photography and with photography. All my trips with a camera, I can clearly remember. I remember where I've been, who I was with, what I was doing, what I saw. Whereas before photography, those memories are not as clearly defined. Some people say that by having a camera with you to, put the camera down and be more present and observe more. But I would argue the opposite is true. I would argue that by having a camera, by being into photography, you are actually a lot more present and you observe a lot more because, you know, taking photos requires you to be present and to observe. And certainly for me, I find myself a lot more present and observant with a camera than without. Photography keeps you fit. Now, unless you take photos in the studio and you eat McDonald's for breakfast, lunch and dinner, photography is going to keep you fit. My average photo walk is between 25 and 35,000 steps. Some days I've hit 60,000. And you do that a few times a week and it's a very good workout. Okay, it's not exactly going for a run here in the gym, but it's still better than nothing. If you accumulate that over a year, that's a lot of exercise, a lot of walking that you wouldn't have done if not for photography. Photography can be combined with other activities, whether you're into cycling, hiking, or even just going on holiday with your family. If your camera is there, you can take photos. So it's not something that requires a dedicated, piece of time. Of course, that's very beneficial and I recommend that, but for the most part, you can do photography on the side of doing other things. Photography can be very social. Even though genres like street photography are mostly done alone, and for good reason, I think photography as a whole, especially with social media, is an incredibly social hobby to get involved with. Because people ultimately want to connect with others who share same interests. If you're traveling, it's nice to travel with others. And some of my best memories and experiences are when I was out shooting with a group of friends that I met through photography, and we were having great days out, making memories, and I will remember them for the rest of my life. As it stands today, I have two groups of friends. The first group that I grew up with, and the second group, which now makes up 50% of my friends, are from the world of photography that I wouldn't have had if not for this hobby. So it's an incredibly social thing to do, and you can make some amazing lifelong friends through photography. Now, on the other hand, photography can be done alone, and you don't need to rely on anyone else. Photography is a hobby that does not require you to get anyone's permission, approval, to be on anyone else's time, to be on anyone else's schedule. You can pick up a camera, you can go out, and you can be in control of every single aspect of this hobby. You don't have to book anything, you don't have to do anything, just grab the camera and go. And that gives you an immense level of freedom that many other hobbies simply can't provide. And whilst, as I've mentioned earlier, yes, there is a huge social aspect to it, at the same time, having this degree of independence is great. Photography is a hobby that grows with you. There are some hobbies, such as downhill mountain biking, which are great when you're young, when you're 16, but when you're 40, not so great, because when you crash, you don't bounce as well. With photography, it's a hobby that grows with you. How I see the world today is hopefully different to how I would see it in 20 years' time, and photography will be there next to me, so to speak, kind of going through that process as well. As long as you can see, walk, and think, you can take photos. Photography leaves something behind. Now, for many people, that's the primary role of taking photos, to document the world or their life for future generations. For other people, it's a purely selfish thing where they just enjoy the act or the process of taking photos. But wherever you land on that spectrum, photography will leave something behind. Now, it could be your kids, your grandkids, your great-grandkids who will come across your photos in God knows how many years' time, and they will be intrigued by what you saw. I know for a fact that if I came across a bunch of images from my great-grandparents, I would be incredibly intrigued to go through them and see how they've lived. Or it could be, how you document the city you live in, and in 50 years' time, in 100 years' time, people will come across your work and they can see how the city looked, all those years ago. Whether you like it or not, your photography will leave something behind for future generations to see. And I think that's a great thing. And finally, photography is never finished. It's never done, it's never completed, and there is no finish line. There's no point at which you say, okay, I'm done, I can move on to something else. Photography runs in the background. Photography is something that will always grow with you. You always have to learn, and it will always mold. And photography today might look different to photography in 20 years' time, but it will still be photography that you would do. And not having this kind of finish line, at least for me, is one of the biggest benefits and the biggest, let's say, draws that I have to this, knowing that I always have something new to learn, I always have something to do, and I can't just say, okay, I'm done, let's try something else. So I don't know about you, but the more I think about it, the more I'm convinced that photography is the best hobby in the world, at least today in 2025. I don't know, in 2100, it might be something else. I don't know, but at least today it's the best hobby in the world, and I feel very lucky and very privileged to have found it at a fairly young age. And it's something that will stick with me for the rest of my life, hopefully. Okay, now I want to go and shoot. So thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye. At this point, I want to quickly thank Squarespace for sponsoring this video. I've been a paying customer way before they supported the channel, and have now been using their services for over 5 years. Squarespace is at the center of my online presence, and it's what drives my blog, portfolio, store, and newsletter. I appreciate the simplicity of managing everything from a single app because it saves me time and gives me peace of mind knowing that I can make changes or deal with issues from my phone. If you have a business, a side hustle, or simply want your own little corner of the internet to host your photography or build something big, Squarespace offers all the tools you need across all devices. If you want to learn more, get a free trial and then 10% off your first purchase, use the link in the description or enter code RomanFox at checkout. Thank you again to Squarespace for sponsoring, and thank you for watching.